coming to a conference, and they're at the airport, and they see this girl, Whitney, in the airport. And they said, oh my God, they could not look at her. They said, this is just too painful. Jess is supposed to travel with us. She doesn't. We always travel together, 3 seats in an airplane, and now here we are, the two of us. And no, I just want to get in the plane and get out of here. So he gets on the plane, and it was a Southwest flight, I guess, and they filled the plane up without seat assignments. And so they get on the plane, sit down, 1 seat left. And they said, does anybody have a seat? And he goes, I'm a big guy, I don't want anybody to sit here. And he said, okay. Guess who comes and sits down in the middle of it, him and his wife? Whitney. And so finally, he's looking at her and looking at her. And his wife said, honey, don't scare her. So he pulled out his brag book of pictures, showed Whitney. Whitney says, oh my God, I got that same purse. You know, they had the same purse. They wore the same clothes. They were both the same age. They were in an accident around the same time. She survived. They snowboarded. They were softball team. They're all these similarities. So they became friends. There's not even a category for this type of sign. But how it made them feel? Invaluable. Physical interaction with static objects. You know, noises, moving, objects appearing that shouldn't move. Pictures falling off the wall or moving off the wall. Something falling off a shelf. Pennies appearing out of nowhere. My wife gets quarters all the time. She wasn't satisfied with pennies. So she asked Kelly for quarters. So she's got a whole quarter jar of Kelly quarters that she finds quarters at very significant times. Electrical devices, lights, radios, TVs, computers, cell phones, doorbells, CD players, anything in your car or in the house that sometimes will operate without even being plugged in. The radio will come on, it's not even plugged in. A tape player will start playing in the car, and the key's not even the ignition. Or that song comes on the radio that just drops you, and you know that is your child's song. Whether it's a song at the funeral or it was one that they loved. You know, my son, he loved meatloaf. You know, not the food. And when a meatloaf song comes on, I just know it's Kelly. I just think about Kelly. Sean McBride, this young man died in a car accident. His cell phone was crushed in the car. His dad took the SIM card out, put it into a cradle. And as I said before about proactive grieving and how kids are recognizing death, that kids are still calling his phone and saying, hey, Sean, I miss you, buddy. Happy birthday, man. You know, wish you were here at the graduation with us and stuff like that. And they're Facebooking and they're keeping him alive in the world. And so they kept the phone service up so that they could still receive these calls. And they put it in a beautiful cradle in his room, kept his room like a shrine, and kept that phone in there. And kept the service up. He's in his room downstairs working on his computer. He's a computer geek and an engineer. And so he needs proof positive of signs. And I don't know about all this stuff. I really don't, he said, you know. But all of a sudden his computer came on, started playing a slideshow of his son that he had in there, but it took a lot of steps to get to it. And I said, I can't believe, how could this come on and immediately like that and just start playing this slideshow with his pictures. The phone rings upstairs. The phone rings in the house. He picks it up and says, hello. Nothing on it, just static. So he just hung it back up and he said, wait a minute. And he calls up, honey, upstairs, look at the caller ID. What's that phone number? He heard her scream and she goes, well, that's Sean's phone. He goes, that's impossible. He goes upstairs, looks in their room, Sean's house, dad's phone, Sean's cell phone. Called out at 12:01. He's an engineer. He called Sprint, he called AT&T, he called everybody to find out how this is no butt dial. This just happened from the phone, no one touching it. How do you explain that? You don't. You just accept it as a wonderful thing. Orbs. We're talking about orbs. These are, anybody not heard of orbs? Orbs are little circles or balls of light that show up in photographs. A lot of them are dismissed and thrown out as a spot on the lens or there's dust in the air, and a lot of skeptics and cynics will say that's what it is. But I like healthy skepticism. It really makes it even more valid when it's something. But these show up. And if you're a photographer and you take pictures and you bracket it, you take 3 pictures in a row, click, 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 and one picture will have orbs in it and the other 2 won't. How do you explain that? Dust motes float slowly in the air. And a spot on the lens would always be on every picture. So, but it's the timing, the synchronicity at the special events, at churches, at cemeteries, at weddings, at funerals. You know, I was in San Miguel at night in Puerto Rico taking pictures of all these buildings at night, of these public buildings, beautiful old architecture. The only one that had orbs on was the oldest church in the Caribbean. Orbs everywhere around this church. And I took a bunch of pictures of it. And every angle of the church had these orbs on it. And orbs go through the ages. In antiquity, the halo above the head. The cartoon version put it above your head, but in old icons, it's the golden orb behind the head. It's the signifier of spirit. So that spirit, Denise, your candle lighting. Here, she has a mom group, and they're doing the candle lighting, and she's taken several pictures of this. Right after the candle lighting, they lit their candles, orbs everywhere. And there was none before that or after that in the same film. But these orbs showed up. My son-in-law, the cynic, my daughter said, I'm going to prove to Jeremy that orbs show up whenever you and Alan get together and do your thing. And she took a picture of her husband and my beautiful granddaughter, and this big yellow orb floating behind her. This is in Portland. Someone else mentioned in Portland. Vesta, when you're in Portland. And I showed it because she was next to me. Do I know you then? I said, I just wanted to show somebody. I took a picture and I go, oh my God, it's the biggest orb I've ever seen. And I was showing Vesta. And so I put it in here. The parents of the signing choir had lost a child. And this orb showed up above this beautiful choir. Look at those angels singing. And this biggest orb I've ever seen. You don't see it with your naked eye, but you take a telescope. You take a microscope. They see things our naked eye can't. The new modern digital cameras are so powerful, they're seeing things that our naked eye can't see. So it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just that cameras can pick it up where our eyes can't. Host embodiment. This is physical interaction. This is where I think spirit can enter the body of a bug or an animal or even a baby. I've had babies look at me sometimes, and I swear it looks like my son looking at me. And I think they can just jump in, or they can jump in the butterfly, the ladybug, the dragonfly. This is dragons. Here's all the different types that you can. Doves, dogs. And dogs recognize spirit too. You'll see a dog barking at a corner of a room, or scratching at the door of the deceased person's room, trying to get in, or they're whining and they're looking at somebody. They see spirit very easily. This woman, a friend of ours, she saw a butterfly. She went camping with my wife, and I looked at the picture and said, Pammy, what's this butterfly? And because she's been asking for signs from her dad, who died 3 years ago. And she said, how come you talk about signs, and I've been asking for signs, and I never get a sign from my dad. And I looked at the pictures, and I said, oh, you got a sign from your dad, huh? She goes, what? She goes, that damn butterfly, what's that? She goes, I was camping for 3 days, it wouldn't leave me alone. It was on my shoulder, it came in the tent with us, it wouldn't go away. Finally, Sunday morning, I woke up, and I found it dead. I rolled over on it. And I said, Pam, you've been asking for a sign, and it's been right with you all the time, and you did not recognize it. That's the magic of opening up your perceptions to recognize it and not dismiss it. So to this day, her kids, when they see a butterfly, they say, Papa! They recognize the butterfly as being Papa. Andrea's deer. This young redhead mom had her taking her kids on a three-wheeler in the backyard. They live in a country. Their parents live above them in a 5-acre type setting. And she hit a root in the yard, flipped over the three-wheeler, and she died instantly, broke her neck. The kids fell off harmlessly. But the mom was looking out in the yard. The dad came down to mow the yard a month or so later and had to go down and mow her lawn. And this deer came up in the yard. They had not seen a deer in 12 years in that area. This deer came up while he was mowing with a John Deere, a loud tractor, and this deer came into the yard, and it went over to that spot where her daughter died, scratched the ground, and laid down and looked at them. Unbelievable. And so that is a huge sign for them. And that it just doesn't occur naturally. 12 years is a long time, and they see it just when they needed it most. It just kills you to know that this little girl died. This is Shayla. Her parents had been to the conference. Leaving the conference the next day was their daughter's birthday. And another proactive thing that's happening, the shift I see happening, they're having a birthday party at the cemetery with the cousins and the friends, and they have balloons and gifts, and they're celebrating Shayla's birthday at the cemetery. Some people think you're over the top of them. It's macabre, or they're not over it yet. This is a wonderful thing. They're celebrating her birthday. So they're on the way there. They're talking about going to the birthday party, and they heard. The dad says, "Well, Mom says, well, ask for a sign." Mitch said, "Just ask for a sign." I was not quite that simple, but be open to the sign. And so he said, "Well, I want a big sign. I need a big sign." And the radio came on with an announcement, said cat adoptions. And so they start dialoguing, oh, we should have got Shayla a kitty for her birthday. We've never been able to get, now it's too late. We can't get her a kitty for her birthday. And they're arguing about it. So they go out to the cemetery, and all the kids come running up and go, you guys won't believe this. The minute we got out here, and there's this cat that's been sleeping on Shayla's grave. It stayed the whole time with them while they were there. And they sent me pictures. And this one they said, we didn't do a thing to this. It's glowing. And the cat just stayed there, unmarked, and it was just whining. Just stayed there for the time they were there, and then trotted off. Shayla got her kitty on her birthday. A visitation in a dream, hearing a voice, feeling a presence, feeling someone sitting on the edge of the bed, feeling the breeze come by, smelling their cologne or their perfume. An apparition, seeing an apparition. Now I got some pictures here to show you that. Having a conversation with somebody. They come to you in dreams. A visitation dream is like seeing a dream in total, vivid color. You remember it, you smell it. It's like you'll never ever forget it like other dreams. It is there, it is vivid and real. Another dreams, they just scattered dreams sometimes. But a visitation, you know it's real because you don't forget it. They sent me a picture of this girl, Tori, disappeared. They found a couple had taken her from school when I walked home and murdered her. They had a memorial service for her. They admitted, they caught them, they admitted they murdered her, but they did not know where the body was, so they had a memorial service knowing she was dead. They had not recovered her body yet. And they had a memorial service, and they're taking pictures with those throwaway cameras, and this little girl, 16-year-old, sent me this picture. She goes, my cousin showed up in the picture. This is Tori. And looks just like her. You can see right through the door frame. You can see right through her. This is not Photoshop. This is a little girl who's grieving for her cousin. This little boy died, her little brother died, the girl's graduating. And at the graduation party, they was just taking this picture. And her brother that should have been there showed up. He always wore those cut-off T-shirts. And you know the silhouette of your loved one. You know what they look like. And they saw that. They said, that is him. It just showed up in the window. Just the shadow of this little boy. This girl died. Years later, they were taking a picture in the house. And you see the shadow in the house. It looks like her apparition showed up. Right on the edge of the door frame. Another picture of a girl. See a little girl in a plaid dress in the closet? And the dog is going, that's what I say, dogs recognize and see spirit. And this camera just happened to catch this image of the girl in the closet. Asking for a sign. Ask. Make it simple at first. Make it easy for them, but ask. I never got a dragonfly. People have gotten, you got dragonflies. And I had never gotten a dragonfly, so I asked my son, Kelly, I've gotten lots of signs. Give me a dragonfly. Boom, a dragonfly landed on the Buddha's nose. I had my camera. I was ready and waiting. So just ask for a sign. Tommy, a woman at the workshop, she was in the back. This is in Portland as well. And she didn't want to come in. She was fragile. Her son had just died 3 months ago, 9 years old, soccer player. And she said, okay, Tommy, at the end of the workshop, if this stuff is true, give me a sign right now. And she had a tattoo on her leg, says soccer mom with Tommy on it, just like that. She said, Tommy, give me a sign right now that I know you're survived. And the doors opened from the side of the hotel. A whole bloody soccer team came in. And she just said, oh my God. She said, if I had not been to the workshop and talked about this, seeing that soccer team would have dropped me to my knees in pain because he could not be a soccer player anymore. But now I'm so overjoyed that he gave me a sign. So it all could just be in how we're looking at things. This is the miracle of the cornstalk. This is in my first letter I wrote to Kelly, and I said, give me something growing in the yard. And it's a long story, but I had corn that grew up on the backyard. And on the anniversary of his death on December 1st in Minnesota, it's cold and snowy. But this bird, mourning dove, another living, came pecking at our door. So I opened it up and I said, okay, Kelly, what's a mourning dove? And this is on the anniversary date, in which we were been crying all day. And I screamed so hard that day because it was so real. That 365th day, when it happens, all the other days were memories, living memories of our loved one. Now every day is a memory of their death. Of their dead. And so it's the memory of the wake and the funeral. And so we had this day, and I looked, and I went to the corn, and I pulled the corn off, and it all moldy and black. And the mold had stained it with a capital D-A-D. And I said, he got back to me. That's what started me on this road. Even my daughter saw it and said, where's my name? I said, I think he's doing pretty good, honey. Pretty good, honey. Prior to death communication, letters, computer files, drawings, people that do something prior to the death that gives you pause to think, did they somehow know that they were going to die? But they leave impressions. And this happens a lot. If you think back before your loved one died, did they do or say anything or leave anything that prior to their death that maybe gave some indication on some spiritual level that they knew that maybe they were going to die? And I've gotten a lot of indicators from people that says that this does happen. The mom who sent the strawberry, she gets strawberries. She found this picture. This was before his death. Can you see the heart? It's the leaves. It's just a big heart in the leaves. And when she found this picture, she was overjoyed. And this happened before his death, that it was a gift from way back. It becomes a gift in the future for us. These are Kelly's tumor fighting pictures. When my son was dying of cancer, I had him draw pictures to help. You know, draw him Pac-Man, eat up the tumor. Draw Pac-Man to eat up the tumor. So that's what he was doing. He's drawing all these pictures to eat up the tumor. So he's doing it. These are all his pictures. And if you notice, they're full bodied at first, and he's smiling, and he's happy, and he's showing where the tumor is, right at the base of the spine, getting radiation and chemotherapy. And he did this years ago when he was sick. This 28 years ago when he was sick, before he died. I found these 5 years ago in his trunk of things, and I go, oh my God, we thought these were going to be helping, and we were going to beat this, and he was going to beat the cancer, and that's the only thoughts we had when they're alive. Now we're looking at it, I go, oh my God, these are saying he knew what was going on. He knew the cancer was spreading. He knew it was going to kill him, and these pictures actually reflect that. That now his body's getting smaller. It's showing a demarcation on his head. He's still trying to go after the Pac-Man, eating like it's got a life of its own. He's pointing at it, he's drawing, he's still smiling. He's still got his eyes up, and he's looking at it. He's trying to positively think to get rid of this. But it reflects now he has no body at all. And there it shows his spirit, the purple color of spirit, that he's screaming inside. He's got headaches like a firecracker's exploding, but he's still smiling. There he's smiling again, but now this cancer is spreading, and we didn't know it, but it looks like now it's spreading all over the place. But he's still got a flower for his nose. He's smelling the roses. He's still living in this world. And the tumor that killed him on the side of his head, we did not see it. We did not do radiation on that side of his head. And it says wrong button. They did not do that side of the head. And we couldn't figure it out for a long time. We finally looked at it. Can you see? It says wrong button. They were not hitting that spot. And that is the tumor that killed him. But the tumor that killed him here spared him the pain from all the tumors that were in his spine that were growing. So he did not go through that because this took his life before those could. And here's another one where this is toward the end now, and he's got all the ghosties. You know Pac-Man, the ghosties are the bad guys? Here the ghosties are winning, all the bad guys. One scared little Pac-Man. His head looks like the world. He's got his wings, yet he's still plugged in. He's grounded. He got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. There is nothing again. There's no human form, nothing. The cancer is spreading like crazy. This is second to the last one he did, the end of pain. At the time, we thought that meant he was healed. Now we realize the end of pain meant that he would no longer be in pain because he was dying. That was death is the ultimate cure in some cases. And the pitchforks of pain, the exploding in his head, he wrote the end of pain. He's no longer going to be in pain. Last one he did, going to God. Now look at this picture really carefully, and I want to show you the picture that his, and channeled information is another conduit. I'm not going to talk about that too much. We're not going to go into it, but it is a choice that some people have to go to a medium and get information. But personal signs from yourself, I like a one-on-one without any interpretation, but it is, people do use them. This is a card that my daughter gave us a couple months after he died, December 1st.